prejudice based on age, a physical ailment, and a horrific sexual assault. Despite being one of the most admired actors of her time, Isabella Rossellini has experienced far too many catastrophes in her life. Isabella Rossellini's upbringing was filled with turmoil as a result of the tumultuous relationship between her father and mother. Her well-known parents, director Roberto Rossellini and actress Ingrid Bergman, separated when she was just 5 years old. For the next 2 years, Isabella lived in a hotel room across the street from her father with their housekeeper, along with 2 of her brothers. Mama is dating Paris. Unfortunately, Isabella and her mother didn't communicate much during this time. Isabella's debut appearance on the cover of Vogue in 1982 was a glaring indication that her career was taking off. Her mother passed away earlier this year at the age of 67, so she was never able to witness her reach her full potential. 3 years prior to her daughter landing her big American role in White Nights, Ingrid Bergman passed away. In 2022, Isabella told People, "She was never aware of my acting achievements. She wasn't present when I became a grandma or had my own kids." However, Isabella also thinks her late mother is still at the forefront, even after all these years. "Mama had this physical energy, like a Scandinavian Viking," she told the crowd. "I always felt like I was lagging behind her as she walked, attempting to catch up. Today, I'm still catching up to Mama." Isabella had to have a difficult operation after being diagnosed with scoliosis at the age of 11. She thus wore a Wow. Both Isabella's mother and twin sister took care of her during this trying time, but Bergman was unable to be at her daughter's bedside when she underwent a similar treatment in her 50s because the Hollywood legend had already died. Later, Isabella told the New Zealand Herald, "My mother was the ideal nurse, so I missed her terribly." Sadly, Isabella had to take on the role of nurse herself after learning that Electra, her own daughter, too had scoliosis. When Electra discovered she had the disease, she was compelled to wear a back brace from the age of 12 to 17. Isabella had to have surgery for appendicitis when she was 5 years old, as if the spinal procedures weren't enough. Her father in particular was extremely concerned because his firstborn had died of the same illness just over 10 years prior. Isabella never had the opportunity to meet Marco Romano Rossellini, her older half-brother, whom Roberto shared with Marcella de Marcos, his second wife. Shortly before, Isabella disclosed in her 1997 autobiography, Some of Me, that she had been sexually attacked as a teenager by a slightly older boy, but she provided no other details. This was her position even after the Me Too movement. Isabella maintained that she saw little use in resurrecting the past, even though she recognized that discussing such experiences can be helpful to others. "The person who raped me was a year older than me, and I was 15 or 16, she told Vulture. "Why, 48 years later, would I unearth this tale? What happens if someone starts to say, 'No, you need to say their name'?" Isabella then pondered out loud how the man's life may change as a result of this discovery, including any potential weddings or kids. She told the site, "I don't think I have the heart to single out one person and ruin their life because they committed a sin in the culture." The Emmy winner did, however, also express relief at the shift in culture. "We simply accepted it," she told Vulture. "I believe this is changing. Men must realize that these behaviors are unacceptable." The intriguing thing, in my opinion, is how the Me Too movement has exposed all the various ways that women may be devalued. It might seem unbelievable to you, but Isabella Rossellini has not received what prevented the Italian-American from becoming as well known as she deserved to be. Isabella herself thinks that her accent and her background might have contributed. "I would have loved to have a huge Hollywood career, but I became an actress when it was closed up," she said in a 2021 Harper's Bazaar interview. "I believe my English is flawless." Isabella has been married twice, once to model John Wiederman and once to filmmaker Martin Scorsese. Despite the fact that both of her marriages ended in divorce, her breakup with filmmaker David Lynch seemed to have affected her the most. After starring in Lynch's cult film Blue Velvet, she started dating him in 1986. However, the two parted ways in 1991. And Lynch was accountable, according to an interview she had with WENN. "David was the huge love of my life, and I thought he felt the same way, but I was clearly mistaken," she told the site. "Despite my gut feeling that we were a happy couple, we weren't." The breakup devastated Isabella so much that she sought professional guidance to aid in her healing. She said, "I took therapy and later talked to other women who had experienced the same thing, but time was the most helpful thing to me." Lancome terminated their 14-year collaboration in 1996, thus removing Isabella from their advertising efforts, placing her on the receiving end of society's fixation with youth. The 43-year-old actress was informed that she could no longer promote the idea of eternal youth. When Isabella addressed the Irish independence movement decades later, she still appeared to be scorched by the entire experience. "I can't claim that I wasn't depressed. I know how to express myself and strike the right stance, and I had this amazing experience, but I was unable to use it or share it with anyone," I told the outlet. It was painful, indeed. But when Isabella rejoined the company in 2016, everyone was taken aback. Isabella said, "There was that feeling when a friend asked why I was going back," in response to The Guardian's question about why she didn't turn down Lancôme's invitation to return. "I don't know if I'm being forgiving when I say that I'm honored, really affected, miss them, and it's very personal." Actor Gary Oldman left Isabella for another woman in the mid-1990s, causing her to experience yet another romantic defeat after David Lynch broke her heart. After meeting on the set of the 1994 biography Mortal Beloved, Isabella and Oldman became deeply in love, but Oldman's drinking put a stop to their marriage plans. Oldman entered a rehabilitation center after Isabella warned him to change his behavior or face losing her. Unfortunately for Isabella, however, Oldman didn't simply walk away sober. He took a new girlfriend with him when he left. Oldman met and later became romantically involved with model Danya Fiorentino throughout the program. Later that year, the couple got married and had 2 boys before calling it quits in 2001. In addition to realizing that her heritage and accent prevented her from achieving mainstream popularity, Isabella also found that her middle age prevented her from landing movie roles. You can notice a lot of lesser-known projects that went straight to film in the star's career from the late 1990s onward, rather than the celebrated awards show that had come to define her. Isabella considered Hollywood's views on aging in a 2016 interview with The Guardian, admitting that the saying "age ain't nothing but a number" isn't accurate. Fortunately, she was alerted in advance to be ready for this kind of intolerance. She stated to The Guardian, "According to my mother, women between the ages of 45 and 60 cannot find employment since they are in the middle. Not only are you too young to portray the young girl, but you are also too old to portray the grandmother, the witch, or the matriarch. The ages are that. Is the idea that women want nothing more than to be objects of sexual desire." She continued by explaining that Hollywood struggles to cast female actresses for 15 years before adding them, and then a lot of work returns after 60. "That applied to my mother as well." Isabella has, in fact, returned to more prestigious projects in recent years, such as the drama Conclave and the surrealist comedy issue Easter. Roberta Rossellini and Ingrid Bergman are undoubtedly well known in today's film archives. After all, Bergman won 3 Academy Awards and starred in classic films like Casablanca. However, the director at the vanguard of Italian neorealism was Roberta Rossellini. Isabella, however, feels that the 2 movie icons have been relegated to the past in the eyes of the general people. Isabella acknowledged in a 2024 interview with Variety that she formerly found it challenging to be always presented as the child of movie royalty rather than as a standalone artist. But now, she would prefer nothing more than to be called that. "It breaks my heart that the younger generation doesn't know them," she told the site. "Fame is fleeting, but their reputations endure." In her 1997 autobiography Some of Me, Isabella discussed her parents' legacies in further philosophical detail. In it, she thought, "Is there a way to combat death by being remembered? Does celebrity last forever? There is assistance available if you or someone you know has experienced sexual assault. Go to the National Network's webpage on rape, abuse, and incest, or call the RAIN's National Helpline at 1-800-656-HOPE 4673.